Welcome to Squirrel, the podcast for distracted writers, hosted by Candace J. Thomas and Jody L. Milner.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Squirrel. This is Candace.
This is Jody.
And welcome to episode 37. We are talking about women and writing. It is March, which they're celebrating Women's History Month.
I didn't know this was a thing.
I know, right? Well,
I'm cool with it.
There is a International Women's Day, I believe is the 5th. 5th is the 6th.
I believe so. It's actually the week we're recording. I remember seeing it coming up in social media quite a bit.
Yeah, it's the International Women. So I investigated it and I looked more beyond that and found out that they do have for March Women's History Month. There are special things that you can, go to libraries, find out more events that are happening around that celebrate women in history. And that's what I thought we would do for this episode, is celebrate women writers in history. Like, personally, we have been affected by it. That's really where I went. But there's also some really great examples of people, of women in history that really changed the way that women writers are even perceived. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about this. So the first point that I am bringing up is the strength of women. So first, Jody, let's ask the question, how has it been for you being a female writer, and what strengths do you feel that you have gained? I'm asking you first, but do you want me to go first?
I'm fine either way. This is your episode, so if you want me to go first, I can.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't want this episode to be us ragging on the current situation or the past situation, even though that has made our history. But I do have mixed feelings about it. Right now, there hasn't been a better time in history to stand out in the field of writing as a woman. Yes, it feels like a lot of doors have been opened for us, and most people have women writers in their life that they have a lot of respect for. Even amongst readers, I'm seeing more and more of the recommendations coming up that are these fantastic women writers, which is amazing. But on the other hand, I will go to conferences and all the keynotes and special guests are guys.
Yeah.
And 80% of the audience are women.
Yeah.
Which means that even though we have a lot of amazing women writers, it feels unbalanced with who gets the recognition and who is making the good books. And I'm saying there's good books from everybody, but when I see the recognition falling over and over and over again on the guys, I get a little sore. But I think it's made me stronger. It's made me fight harder and appreciate what I have more, just because there are obstacles that I've had to face that I don't think are same that the guys have faced.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, no, I'm 100% with you, because as a woman, I feel I've had to fight a stereotype as well. You probably have, but how do I say this? I have had to prove myself continuously because I am constantly underestimated. I have been underestimated my entire life. And being blonde and petite, I'm put in a glass shelf with these other Barbies. Honestly, that's how I feel. So it's funny. I have gained so much self-confidence because of this writing experience. I didn't know what I was going into at first, but it has been the best adventure for me to grow as a person, for sure. I just have done things that I never even imagined that I would do. And I have confidence where I can go up and I can give a speech and I can be on a panel and I can talk with authors that I admire like they're real people on a peer level. And that's been an incredible boost for me. I don't think that I would have gotten it. Yeah, there's no way I would have ever imagined the strength that I've gained from being an author and being a role model as well for others who want to venture into authoring, for sure. So anyway, okay. And there you go.
There we go.
Let's talk about some trailblazers.
Yay.
Who has helped blaze the trail for you as a female writer? Who are your influences and other writers that you recognize as an example of female writers? Go.
So, I mean, there's some pretty obvious picks that are current, but I would like we could all say J.K. Rowling.
Sure.
I mean, she is now the wealthiest person in Britain because she created a universe that everyone fell in love with. Amazing.
She changed the genre completely.
Yeah. But then we have Stephanie Meyer, who also, made people want to read again, as much as we have feelings about the entire Twilight universe.
She knew her audience
but
really
she knew.
well.
She nailed it.
She knew what she did.
Good things happened. Like, I have personal feelings about all of that, but
it doesn't even
But
matter.
I want to go back to like when I was in my formative years and I was reading a lot of Jane Yolen and Robin McKinney, and Ursula Le Guin.
Yeah.
Like we have these women who were, when they were doing it, they were having to publish under pen names that were guy pen names for a while just because they couldn't get agents, they couldn't get representation, they couldn't get published. I mean, yes, they did go on to be able to do so. And I don't know in these specific instances if those three did use male pen names, but there's hundreds that had to. That we will never know. We're like, oh yeah, that was actually, this other 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah,
it is not written by a guy.
James.
It is written by a lady.
Yeah, that the initials started to happen because you needed to be approachable for both sexes or however you identify.
Well, it was anonymizing your gender so you wouldn't get a bias.
Yeah,
but you also weren't saying your name was Jeff when you were obviously not a guy.
Jane Austen, I watched a biography of Jane Austen not too long ago. It's on Prime, I believe, if you want to look it up. But it was one of the things that mentioned that when she first published it was Sense and Sensibility, she did it anonymously. She didn't put a name on it. Which, because she didn't want to have that, I don't know.
It's a bias.
I mean, you're looking at 1812 when there were no female writers, really. I mean,
and if they were doing the exact same thing because it was not looked upon as a proper thing for a woman to do.
Yes.
Or if you're going to do it, you had to write very sensible, womanly things, not gritty, dark Frankenstein.
I love that, right?
Right?
So, props to Mary Shelley.
Amen.
For sure.
So, having these ladies and these women who were writing these gritty, kind of action-y books gave me permission. It's just it's okay to write the thing you love. You don't have to put yourself in a box because you're a woman writer. You don't have to write swoony things because you're a woman writer. You don't have to have fainting ladies all over the place. You can write the real stuff. It doesn't matter what you are.
Yeah, exactly. All right, my list. I have a list.
You have a cool list. I only stole one of them.
It's okay. So Ramona the Brave was the first book I ever finished. And that was Beverly Cleary. And I loved Ramona. I kind of identified with her a bit because she was quirky and silly. So I also put Judy Blume for sure because she's a huge influence on female writers in general. What was acceptable, she's still banned, but she's still pushing just because she speaks truth about women. Let's see. Yep, Jane Austen we talked about. She really is a template for a lot of us authors. Specifically, I would think with the formulaic tropes that we use in romance are originally Jane Austen. We talked Ursula Le Guin for sure, and Anne McCaffrey. Those were my fantasy go-tos because they were female, and I wanted when I was reading other fantasy that was written by males, I felt a little disconnected. I still love them. I won't lie. I still love, Sanderson and Terry Brooks and whatever. But there was something more engaging with me when I read Anne McCaffrey or when I read Ursula Le Guin.
it's like you can relate with them on a more like intangible level.
Yeah.
Like the details they notice are ones that the feminine eye tends to notice. And so the world feels more vivid just because it all kind of sinks a little bit better.
Yeah. Toni Morrison, I put on here as well. She just taught me a whole different level of understanding when it comes to culture, for sure. And my poetic soul still wants to thank Emily Dickinson because she really understood the gravity words can have. Here's my list.
It's a good list.
Okay.
So I'm going to introduce this one. Ha ha, my turn. All right. Industry difficulties. So what made you want to become a writer and what obstacles were in your way? And were any of those obstacles having to do with stereotyping or overcoming certain expectations?
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, next question. Perfect.
Yeah, when I first started writing, it was because I couldn't find enough female characters to be the heroines in fantasy. So that's when I started writing, and that was back in like 2005, I think, when I got my first idea. But when I started publishing, which wasn't until 2013, you would see that I was not the only person feeling this gap, because there are, at that same time, all of a sudden, there's all this fantasy that was written by women that was coming out. And so it's been a lovely journey to be with them at that same time, having these strong female characters that, that speaks more to us women who read fantasy as well, So, yeah, I mean, I talked about my stereotyping before, so I don't really need to go over that. But I'm still having to prove myself in this industry. It's just how it is.
Yeah. And some of that could be imposter syndrome. And I think
probably
a lot of it is trying to blame things that are beyond our control for our difficulties. But I think it's going to come down to grit. Those who are willing to stick with it and those who ended up making a lot of excuses, because we all know people are like, I want to write a book. I'm like, that's amazing. Sit down and do it.
Yeah, do it.
Then
when you
years
finish
go
that,
by
let me know.
and they're still saying, I want to write a book. I'm like, don't talk to me about it until you're willing to do the work. Mm-hmm. They're like, I can't because of X, Y, and Z because I'm a woman. I'm like, stop.
Yes.
Just stop.
Yes. I think I've heard this before. Some people have mentioned how much they love the podcast because we talk about the struggles that it is of raising a family and still being a writer.
Yeah, there's not a lot of super successful writers that are also women who are also raising kids. It feels like it's very skewed. The really successful women tend to be either only with a partner, but not with kids.
They only have a golden retriever.
Or or it could be that their kids are grown and now they have this second wind. But like, I'll see these really amazing women out there and they're very independent and they don't have a lot of constraints on their time, which I'm super jealous about.
Yes.
A lot.
Well, in raising kids, a lot of your time has already been spoken for.
Absolutely.
So you have to
As I was preparing for this podcast and helping a kid with an English assignment while cooking dinner.
Right? You really need to learn how to.
It happens.
Organize that time. And I don't know, I'm only female. I don't know how difficult that is on the male end of writing and being that person. But I don't.
And we could make assumptions on how that works, but I don't think that would be entirely fair.
True. Yeah.
So
I only know my side. So,
yeah.
And I know my responsibilities and what I actually want to nurture and want to take care of.
So for me, I think I've said this a few times on the podcast, but the reason that I was drawn into writing is that in my younger years, stories had a really important place in my life. I was a spectrum kiddo. I couldn't figure out people. Peopling was hard and awkward and painful and anxiety causing. And so books were my escape. And I did learn coping mechanisms and I did learn how to, function in society. But that same spectrum me wants to stay in the quote unquote right box, wants to do the quote unquote right things, follow the rules, whatever they are or are not. Like the invisible rules that exist that everyone else understands, but I'm just sitting here going like, I just need a book telling me the rules, please. Because I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And so for the longest time, I felt I couldn't be an author because the box I was supposed to stay in was being a really good stay-at-home mom, which is not a fun box if you have ideas and plans that you want for your life and you feel stuck. But I had to turn 30 and finally be like, holy crap, I am halfway through. And this is when I was 30. I've changed my definition since then. But like when I turned 30, I'm like, crap, I'm halfway through the years where I really can do things and be super functional. Now I feel like I could probably get a couple more years out of that. But like if I wanted something, I had to seize it or it's just going to pass me by and just be gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so I finally did. And it took a lot of self-talk to say, you can step into the other box. It's okay. It's not breaking the rules. It's making better rules.
Awesome. All right. Shout out. Who would you like to recognize in your own personal history as a strong woman who helped guide and influence you and your writing? Okay, I'll go first. I am constantly surrounded by amazing, incredible influences, and specifically, these are pretty close friends. In my close circle, I want to recognize Christine Nielsen and Jen Grayson. Christine writes under C.M. Adler, and Jen Grayson, that's just her pen name. I met them when I most needed it. When I was struggling with self-doubt because of the uphill climb I had in such a dominating industry, I didn't feel like I had very much support, and I felt like I was alone. They were there just to encourage me when I needed it. Also, my friend Kaz Witness. Kaz Witness is amazing. You should definitely find her. She is really blown up in the last year or so. She does not shy away from being on the spectrum, and she seeks ways to educate others on what it feels like and how to understand others. I think that you would really like her books. They're all picture books. She's an artist, and she wrote a beautiful book that is an early reader, first of all, called Worm and Caterpillar Are Friends. This is a Gesell Award honoree because of the material that it talks about, acceptance and transformation. And Jody,
You should look at that.
Jody is she is a full steam in charge of this podcast, and I feel like this is like an award show here that I'm talking about this. But I'm super lucky that that I asked her to if she wanted to do this with me, because seriously, we've learned so much just doing this about our own specific individual strengths and collectively how to be examples to each other. So there you go. Yeah, writing can be hard, but writing with a small family and all the demands that it has is nearly impossible. And yet we are here as proof that it's not impossible. And if your soul needs creativity like this, we can help you through it. So there you go.
That's so cute.
How about you?
So, I mean, if we're going to be totally honest here, you were the person that was there right when I needed it, because you were there at my very first short story release thing.
So cute. Do you actually know? Yes, it was the short story release, but you and your husband came to my booth at FanX before you were actually published. Do you remember that? I do.
I know. There was a FanX. I went and said hi to all my league buddies, you among them.
Was I a league buddy at that time?
I don't know if you were a league buddy, but we knew each other.
Yeah, because you came by because you knew that Skylar was going to be there.
Hey, that's right.
And
I
you
probably
said,
went to say hi to Penny.
I wanted to come see the booth, meet other Skylar people, and
yeah,
you did.
I did. And the rest is kind of history after that. Candy told me I had a book in me, and I had been working on it for like years at that point. Side note, kids. Yeah,
that happens.
I was making people at the time, and I was feeling pretty discouraged because I wasn't feeling like I was making progress, but she was very encouraging, which was very nice. My first ever editor was actually a Skylar editor.
I love McKenna.
McKenna was amazing.
She's amazing.
She treated me like a professional, which was my first experience with an editor. And if she had been condescending, if she had been mean, like, it would have probably pushed me out of the industry. But she was like, this is how we work. This is our production schedule. These are the notes I'm going to give you. This is how you're going to treat those notes. You can ask me stupid questions, but not many of them. So,
no, Skylar had an amazing editing team, and I will always be grateful for them because they really taught me how to edit and how to craft stories. So
yeah, it was very nice. Through all of the different organizations that I've had the opportunity to be a part of, I've gotten to know, like, my editor that I use now. I wouldn't have met them if it wasn't at a conference and we were chilling in the green room and talking about our favorite flavors of fantasy.
Oh, there you go.
So it worked out really, really well. So I think I've been pretty lucky just to have the right people at the right time, just to show me the next steps. You know, get that flashlight out and be like, go here. Like, okay, I can do that. I don't need to know the 20-mile plan. I just need the next step.
That's perfect. Awesome. All right. So our finishing thoughts. Well, my finishing thoughts. I really don't have any. The industry of women in writing has really blossomed, and I'm so happy and excited to be part of that industry. I encourage anyone who is interested in seeing some of the history of different writers. There are some really great biographies and autobiographies from these strong women that it's been really fun to dive into a bit. And so that's really what my listener assignment is just maybe search your own history and see what strong female women have influenced you. Whatever gender you identify as, I don't really care, but the idea is to find the females in your life that really have made those impacts on you that you're grateful for and that have made you the person you are. So, and the creative person that you are. Say that. So,
excellent.
The
Very
end.
Nice.
Okay, tell us what are we doing next time?
Next episode comes the day before April 1st, which in the United States is April Fools.
April Fools.
So we are going to talk about the trickster archetype, which is a very specific kind of character, but all the ones that I've run across in fiction are the ones that delight and enchant me. So I'm excited to talk about this.
I'm excited too.
I think it'll be good. All right. If you've enjoyed anything you've heard today, or if you've learned anything, heaven forbid, we do have a Patreon. And if you're not into commitment, we also have a buy us a coffee.
That we'd so appreciate just a little change in the bucket so we can continue to do this podcast.
Some tips in the tippy jar. All right. This has been terrific. If you haven't already, this is the perfect time to like and subscribe.
And share.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye. Later, y'all.
Thank you for listening to the Squirrel Podcast for the Distracted Writer with Candace J. Thomas and Jody L. Milner. Please like and subscribe to our podcast for updates and new episodes, and find more information at our website, squirrelpodcast.com. Stay distracted, everyone.
Let's argue about who goes first.
Well, yeah.
So,
I'm asking you.
You have a tangent here.
Yes. Do I need to read that? I really don't need.
It's an interesting tangent, but I think it's something we could save.
You think so?
For later.
Okay.